I thought I'd do a little video on my birth story. A few people have asked how the birth was, so I thought I'll share it. Zachary is just feeding at the moment, so he's very happy, guzzling away. My milk's coming now, I look like Pamela Anderson. Anyway, so when I found out I was pregnant, I felt really guilty because I didn't feel real excited. I didn't feel like grateful that it happened quickly. I went into panic. I was anxious, scared, thinking, oh shit. Because I've grown up with a massive fear of birth. Like, I actually considered adopting. Like, it was one of my biggest fears. And I think because I'm the last one out of all my friends, basically, and, you know, I'm 36. A lot of my friends had their children in their 20s. I've heard every single birth story, and I've heard like the most traumatic cases. So obviously you kind of have this massive perception of birth being like the worst experience of your life, and it sounds like a near-death experience when you speak to some people. So I thought, right, I need to do something about this. Like, I can't go through my full pregnancy and birth feeling scared. And obviously it's not good for the baby to be stressed, so I was like, right, I really need to do something about this. I invested in preparing myself every single day. So I signed up to a hypnobirthing course. Me and Joe did that together, watched the videos like every week. That was incredible because that informed you of every single scenario that could happen, every single intervention, every single option, and I just felt fully informed, fully knowledgeable on birth, and I knew exactly what my rights were as well. Like, you don't have to consent to anything they offer you. So that was incredible. The course was absolutely incredible. I learnt so much. It was so eye-opening. It was fascinating. And Joe did it with me, which another amazing thing about prepping for birth is getting your birth partner prepped as well. So you know that they'll advocate for you and hold the space for you and stuff, because obviously when you're in pain, you're in your zone, you're quite vulnerable. So if they know exactly what you want, your preferences and stuff, it makes things so much easier. So we did the hypnobirthing course, which was incredible. And then I listened to birth stories, podcasts, watched YouTube videos, followed positive Instagram pages about birth, and I actually started to feel really excited about birth and labour, and I committed to something every single day for 9 months. I did meditation every single day before bed, and there's like upbeat affirmations that you can listen to in the car, and honestly I became obsessed. I felt like I knew everything about birth, like absolutely everything. So yeah, I couldn't have prepared any more if I tried. I purchased something called oxytocin bubble, which was absolutely incredible. That was the meditation, but also there's like 6-hour tracks on there to listen to while you're in labour. There's fast tracks if you have a fast labour. There's slower ones, you know, if it's over a few days. There's a dance meditation, which was incredible. And yeah, just learning to trust your body, go with the flow, and accept that, you know, whatever outcome happens, you've made those choices to get to that point, if that makes sense. Anyway, so let's get to the labour and birth. So I approached my due date, and of course all the messages start coming in. How are you feeling? Any twinges? Have you had a sweep? Have you got booked in for a sweep? But because of what I'd learned, like, personally, I didn't want a sweep. I wanted everything to happen spontaneously. I didn't want any intervention. People couldn't believe that I was like declining sweeps and inductions and all that kind of thing. But I was confident in my body and I was confident in my baby that they would come when they're ready. So we got to full term and then went to my midwife appointment. They were like, right, you booked in for a sweep. I was like, I don't want a sweep, thank you. And they were fully respectful of my decision. And they were like, okay, that's fine, no problem. Baby was fine. Was measuring fine, blah, blah, blah. And then I went overdue by 2 or 3 days. And then I did start with like period pains. I lost a little bit of my mucus plug, just a little bit, and then each day the pains progressed. The mucus plug got like I lost more, and then I started having a little bit of blood in it and stuff, which I knew was positive. It means my body's getting ready. So I was in labour for about 2-3 days. So it started on Friday morning. I had a midwife appointment and they said, oh, you know, I don't think we should do anything today. I think you're in labour. So, yeah, go home, rest, eat, just relax and stuff. So that's what I did. I went home. I did ring the ward and I said, I think I'm having contractions, but I'm not sure. They're really sporadic, like there was like every hour, every 10 minutes. And then if I napped, my body, honestly, the female body is incredible. Like if you nap while you're in labour, like early stages, the contractions will stop, let you nap, rest, reset. And then when you wake up, they intensify a bit and start again. Like your body is incredible. Absolutely blows my mind how your body looks after you. So I napped, I rested, and then the contractions became quite intense and they were 7 minutes apart. This was in the night on Saturday. So I rang the ward and she said, we wouldn't want you to come in until they're 3 minutes apart, which I knew, but I just wanted to let them know. So they knew that I'd be going in, you know, within the next couple of days. So again, yeah, I just laboured all the way through the night. Hypnobirthing breathing, wow. Relax your body, melt into the contractions, welcome the contractions, use the breaks between the contractions to prepare to be excited for the next one, because every contraction brings you closer to your baby. So I was like, yes, bring it on, come on, let's have another one. TENS machine, life-changing, like literally life-changing. As soon as I put that on, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Basically, it's like a buzzing on your back, and then when you have a contraction, you press boost, and it like bzzz on your back. So like it completely takes like the focus away from your pain. Anyway, kept contracting, and then on Sunday, I can't even remember the days, but the next day, Sunday night? Yeah. Was it Saturday night? No, Saturday night, I think. Saturday night, we went into the hospital at about 2 o'clock in the morning. The contractions intensified. They really took my attention away. I had to put my headphones on, breathe through every single contraction. Are you okay? He's asleep now. I think he needs burping. One moment, please. Anyway, so yeah, I arrived at hospital. In the car on the way there, put my headphones on and just breathed through every contraction. I had about 6 contractions in the car, but I was just like, what I did is I like breathed in for 4 and then breathed out for 8, but I was going, oh, and the vibrations through my body really helped. Like, I can't recommend that enough. So got to the hospital And my midwife was amazing. She was so lovely. I gave her my birth plan. She read it, was like, yeah, completely respect that. And then there was a couple of areas she discussed about physiological birth of the placenta. She said if you lose a lot of blood, that might be a discussion we need to have. I was like, yeah, I fully understand that. And on my birth plan, I said, this is my preference, but if it needs to be delivered through the injection, I'm happy with that. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I arrived at hospital. She said, so at this stage we would offer you, the language she used was like top notch. She was not pushing anything on me, and she fully gained my consent for everything. I was so lucky. Like, my midwife was incredible. She was called Philippa. Yeah, so she was like, at this stage we'd offer you an examination, but you don't have to have an examination. And in my head, I was thinking I'd be happy with like maybe maximum 3 or 4 examinations. I wanted to know where I was at. I'd been labouring for 3 days, but you can decline all vaginal examinations. So she checked me and I was 7 centimetres. She was like, wow, well done. So that gave me a right boost. I was like, right, let's do this. And then I said, can I get in the pool or do I need to wait till I'm a bit more dilated? And she said, oh no, I'll go run it for you. You can get in the pool. That moment I stepped into the pool, the warm water on my back, obviously took my TENS machine off. The warm water on my back was just like heaven. And then, yeah, just literally breathed through every contraction in the pool. We put my music on through the speakers. I did plan to listen to my meditation oxytocin bubble, but I was coping really well and I just wanted some like calm music on. So put the calm music on. Joe literally sat next to me, and every time I had a contraction, like I held his hands and just kept reminding myself, melt, relax, don't fight it. This is a positive pain. You're not injured. You know, this is your body preparing. It's a good powerful feeling. That's all I kept saying to myself. And because the contractions are like a minute long and then you get rest afterwards, it's like, I can do this because it's going to end soon. So like the contraction, it starts and you think, right, okay, it's coming. Then it peaks. The peak is the most painful bit, but it's literally like 10 seconds. Then it eases off again. And then I started like barking in the pool. And I said, I think I need to push. And she said, if you feel like pushing, just follow your body. I said, do you not need to examine me? And she said, I can see signs, like you're showing me signs that you're fully dilated. So we don't need to examine you. So I tried like pushing on every contraction, but it just didn't feel like... I didn't feel like I was going to push a baby out, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just pressure. I said it was just pressure in my bum. And then she said, you've been in the pool for quite a while. I've been in there like 2-3 hours. Why don't we get you out of the pool and change positions? It's just a suggestion. Don't have to. And I said, yeah, okay. I got out of the pool and I was proper shivering. But the midwives were amazing. Like, they dried me, they wrapped me. And she said, usually if you lay on your side on the bed with your feet on a peanut ball, that can, she said, the contractions will ramp up, but usually that helps the cervix open. So I was like, yeah, let's do that then. So I did that, and she said, do you want to know where I said, yeah, I'm happy for you to examine me again. So she examined me. She was like, yeah, you're 10 centimetres. I was like, oh my God, really? Am I? I'm 10 centimetres. She was like, I didn't use gas and air. I had no pain relief. Like, I got there on my own. Like, honestly, that feeling, I felt so, like, strong. I was just like, I am a powerhouse. Like, I have done this. And she said, you've got, like, the typical purple line. I don't know where it is, but they were looking down there and said, she was showing this because I had a student in with me as well, Emily, who was incredible. Like, if you have the chance to have a student in with you, I'd always consent, because it was nice to have 2 people there supporting you. And, like, you know, holding each hand, and I just felt like my space was really protected and safe. Okay, and then what happened then? And then she said, okay, you're 10 centimetres dilated. We just need your waters to break. Do you want me to break your waters? I said, no, thank you. I want them to break on their own. I was so proud of myself because if I'd not informed myself, I'd have been like, all right, yeah, break the waters. But if you break the waters, then you're then on a clock because there's a risk of infection. If they see meconium in the water, which is the baby's poo, then they panic a little bit because it's like, you know, they worry about it being on the baby's lungs. Like, I fully knew what was going on. I said, I want the waters to break on their own. So I laid on my side and I had a few contractions with the peanut ball, and that was really intense. I had to really breathe through them, use my TENS machine. Like, I put my TENS machine back on. That was intense. But Joe was there, holding my hand. He kept reminding me. So when you get to fully dilated, you go into something called transition. And that's when you get a boost of like adrenaline, and that's when you can start saying like, I can't do this anymore, I need an epidural, and you go into a little bit of panic because you're really fully alert. And I felt really alert, but because I knew that would happen, I thought, I'm in transition now. So I just managed, but it was tough. Those last few contractions where laying down was really hard work. So I did that, and then my waters broke on the run. And I was like, my waters have broken, someone check please. And she checked and she said, I think there's a little bit of meconium in the water. And I said, I know the risks with that, and I'm happy to just carry on as we are if that's okay. Because, like, I'd done a lot of research into that. There's a risk that the meconium can sit on the baby's lungs, but the risk is low. So if you go overdue, they could have a poo before they come out, because obviously they're more mature. He's a chunky monkey, he's £8.4. So he carried on growing. So yeah, I was like, I just want to carry on as normal if that's okay. And then they got the birthing stool, tried that. They were like, just follow your body, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, I'd really like to empty your bladder, if that's okay. It'll give the baby a bit more space. But again, the risk of infection, every time they go inside you with a tool or a hand or whatever, they're heightening the risk of infection. On reflection, I maybe should have consented to that. In the moment, I just was like, no, I want everything to happen spontaneously. You know, if I was giving birth in the wild, no one would come in with a knitting needle and put a catheter in my bladder or whatever. But on reflection, that might have helped me. So that's maybe one thing that I maybe would change, but we're not going to dwell on that. So anyway, I said no, thank you. Was pushing. So on my birth plan, I wanted to wait for my body to push. Like, I didn't want to just start pushing as soon as I was 10 centimetres. However, they checked the baby's heart rate after every contraction, and it was dipping, but it was dipping to a dangerous level. I opened my eyes and there was like 6 new members of staff in front of me. And they said, Sophie, we need to get this baby out now. Sorry, it's making me feel emotional. His heart rate's dropping and we can see his head, but it's just not coming out. You need some assistance. And I said, I really don't want intervention. I want to do it myself. Can I please just try a bit more? So I tried to push him out again. Like, I couldn't have pushed any harder. We tried different positions. But I could see my midwife was a bit worried, and I fully trusted her. Like, she was incredible. She really held my space and she respected everything that I wanted, and I thought, I need to listen to her. So I said, what does that involve? I really don't want a C-section. They said, the baby's too low to do a C-section. We'd have to push them back up, so there's a high chance you won't need a C-section, Sophie. We might just need to give you a little bit of assistance to get him out. We need to get him out now. And I was like, I started to become a bit upset because I started to feel like, I don't know, it was like my birth plan had gone to plan for hours and hours and hours, and then all of a sudden it was like a bump in the road. But I'd prepared for this. Like, I prepared for things to change, and I'd prepared for my plan to change. And I was just so proud of myself for getting to 10 centimetres with nothing, no gas in air, nothing. So, I said, I really don't want to. And then the doctor came, she held my hand and she said, Sophie, the heart rate is not at a normal level, it's dropping really low. You need to think about your baby now. So I just thought, right, this is the time to surrender, which I'd learned about. So I was like, right, I trust you all. Do what you need to do. Get him out. I consent to whatever you think is the best for me and the baby. So literally within 30 seconds, I was in the hospital ward. My legs were in stirrups, which I never thought that I'd birth on my back. My legs were in stirrups. They started numbing me up. And then they was just pushing. There was like literally about 12 members of staff egging me on, like, push, push. And Joe was holding my hands, and then I just felt like the baby come down, and then she said, "You doing it, Sophie? Doing it? He's coming." Well, I didn't say he's coming. They're coming when no one knew the gender, so they numbed me up, and she said, "Are you happy for me to assist him?" I was like, "Yeah." So she put her hands, like, separated my labia and, like, helped him down, and I felt him come down. She said, "Do you want to feel his head?" And I was like, no, I was too overwhelmed. I was like, no, I just want to keep going. And then they said, "Are you happy for us to do a little cut?" They did a little cut, and then he just came out. And then they lifted him up, and Joe was like, "It's a boy." I was like, "Oh my God." And then, sorry. And then, it was, yeah, just the most incredible experience. She said, "You've lost a lot of blood. Are you happy for me to give you the injection to deliver your placenta?" I said, "Yeah." Literally 5 seconds later, I said, "I need to push the placenta out." And she said, "I know you wanted optimal cord clamping." Like, she'd remembered every single preference. And I was like, "Look, I trust you. Do what you need to do." Joe cut the cord. Oh, he's just been sick. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, sorry, I've composed myself. He's a little bit sicky. He's so gorgeous, isn't he? Anyway, they said, "I know you wanted physiological birth of the placenta, you wanted optical cord clamping, but you've lost a lot of blood. So are you happy for us to just cut the cord and stuff?" I was like, "Yes, I trust you. Do what you need to do." Joe cut the cord. Joe told me the gender. They remembered, like, my wishes for that. And then she said, "Oh, we need to put a drip in for 4 hours because you've lost quite a lot of blood." I was like, "That's fine." So then I just laid there with Zach on my chest. And I was like, "Oh my God, I've done it." Stitched me up. So all at the same time, a drip was being placed in my left hand. I was being stitched up, and they were injecting my leg to deliver the placenta. Delivering the placenta was, like, so weird, but, like, almost like a relief. And then when she was stitching me, she was like, "Can you just cough for me?" Because she said there was a bit of membrane in there or something, so she needs to get the little final bits out and stuff. And she said, "Please, can I empty your bladder to do the stitches?" So I was like, yeah. By that point, I was like, yeah, just do whatever. I don't care now. He's here. So she put a catheter in and emptied my bladder. That felt really weird. It was like I did about 55 wees all in one go. And the stitching took quite a bit of time, so they'd done a little cut, but I'd also tore, which does not surprise me. He's £8.4, and they said he was back to back. So she said, you getting through those contractions with a back-to-back labour, you should be so proud of yourself. She was like, you've done all of this on your own. Like, don't be disheartened that the end wasn't what you'd hoped for, but, you know, you did it. And she was amazing, and they can only use so much local anaesthetic because of your weight. So I felt some of the stitches and I was literally screaming, like, high-pitched screams. I was like, that was the worst bit. Anyway, she got the doctor in and said, can I put some more LA in? She said, I'm happy for you to use, like, so many more millilitres. I was like, thank you. And then it was fine. And she was like, just relax. And yeah, I really thought that having stitches and being cut and having a drip that was my biggest fear. But through my meditation, I did like fear releasing meditation, and it like takes you to a place and you write all your fears on a piece of paper and you throw it in the fire. I honestly think that was why I was like, I'm being stitched up right now and I'm fine. I was a bit weepy because I don't know, in the moment, it was a lot. I was exhausted. I'd been awake for so long. But every time they did a stitch, I pulled Joe right down into my chest and hugged him and Zachary at the same time. I just felt really, like, safe. So yeah, they stitched me up. And then they said that they wanted to monitor Zachary for 12 hours. So we stayed in hospital just for the day. Joe could stay with me. And they made him toast as well and a coffee, which was nice. So we all stayed together for 12 hours. They took us down to the ward. They brought us like food and drinks, and yeah. And then after 4 hours, like, they came and removed my drip. I was really frightened about my first wee. It was actually fine. It didn't sting. I was like, why is this not stinging? But then I was like, I'm numb. But like, even now, like, weeing is fine. I thought it'd be really painful, but it's fine. And then I had my first poo yesterday, and I was really nervous about that, but it was fine. So yeah, like, I did it. And like, straight after the birth, I was like, Zachary, it's a good job your daddy came with a son, because I'm not doing that again. And then the next day I said to Joe, I'm definitely having another one. So yeah, that is my birth story. So we went home the same day. Even like, there's catering staff and the people that were coming to do like his hearing checks and stuff like that. They were like, they're letting you home today. That was amazing. And then I've had to, if anybody knows me, they know like how much fear I've got around like medical procedures, injections, blood tests and stuff. This has healed me. Like, Joe's been injecting me with Fragmin every day. He's got to do it for 10 days. I just lay there, do my hypnobirthing breathing, and I'm like, that is not a big deal. So yeah, it's literally healed me. I feel like anything I need to have done, like a mole removed or a blood test, I'm like, yeah, do it. It's nothing. So yeah, it's been the most empowering experience of my life. I would 100% do it again in a heartbeat. Every birth's different, so I'd be thinking, what's going to happen this time? But all I can say is, if you're planning on getting pregnant or you are pregnant, I can't recommend enough preparing, informing, so you can make those decisions for you and your baby. You know, if I'd have been induced, there's, like, when you're induced, obviously, it's more intense and you're forcing your body to do something it's not ready to do, in my eyes. But everyone's different, and, you know, there is a place for medical intervention. But I just wanted everything to happen spontaneously. And, like, I keep reflecting on the birth, like, oh, you know, did I start pushing too early? Did that stress him out? Is that why his heart rate dropped? But I can't fault the staff. I can't fault my experience. So, yeah, and the birthing suite was incredible. It was like a spa. Like, because we did consider having a home birth. But actually, the birthing suite, like, felt safe. Because for you to be in active labour and for it to progress well, you need to have oxytocin flowing. So you need to feel safe and relaxed and happy and loved. And my zone was not interrupted at all. Like, I felt like I stayed in the zone. My heart rate didn't go up. Like, I didn't feel stressed. It was just the last little bit of my birth. It was not part of the plan, but it was, yeah, it was what we needed to do. I couldn't have got him out, I don't think, because he was back to back, and he was getting really tired. I feel really bad. I tired him out. So, yeah, if you got to the end of this video, wow, thank you. And I hope I've inspired you to do some hypnobirthing and meditation, and don't just walk into labour not knowing what's happening, because it is a powerful thing to go through, but it is an amazing thing to go through. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Bye.